Greetings. My name is Michael Miller. This is a Michael Miller trademark training video out to you because you're watching. Thank you and welcome. It's meant for Michael Miller Pilates licensed affiliates, the Core New Core, and anyone interested in surviving and thriving as a Pilates instructor. As I think I made a note in my last broadcast on a Monday, that there's so much to say after 3 days worth of taking notes. And here I am on YouTube, having missed one on Friday because I did not think I had it in me to try to speak about the subject twice. And because the subject I was speaking about was related to other material in the Facebook realm of things, I just devoted my focus to the one attempt. And I think, that worked out the way it did, but at the end of it, it felt weird that I hadn't said it twice, and having said it once, I wasn't going to get a chance to say it again. So I think there's advantage in trying to say something across different mediums, of course. And so today it's a Monday again, and I have 10 things. 10 things. And so I'm just going to read them mostly here on YouTube, and then if you dig deeper, you can go look on Facebook and find more elaboration. So number one, when it comes to moving through space, what matters? So that's a question. When it comes to moving through space, what matters? Well, now, of course, what do I mean? Well, remember who this is for, trying to survive as a Pilates instructor. So always that's sort of the presumption. And so when it comes to being a Pilates instructor and moving through space as the instructor or as a student moving through their space, what matters? And this comes from the title that read, when it comes to moving through space, that matters. And by that, I was talking, I think, in my mind about physics. And so the that is the this, that is the it that I'm talking about when it comes to moving through space, what matters? Well, from the MMP point of view, physics matters. Okay? Because an object is moving through space and it has weight and geez, there's a lot of science in it, right? A mind-boggling amount of science. But the human body is a biological organism accomplishing the physics that it does to move through space. And the MMP point of view includes that, and their point of view is what we know about biology and physics through our science. So the realm of science, that's a big border around the MMP point of view. There's way beyond that. That dismisses or doesn't care or doesn't know about the point of view that is this particular one. But when you're moving through space, in the MMP point of view, the physics that the biology is accomplishing, it helps to understand. So number two, threat or cavalry. So in the tsunami wave of passion for Pilates, that's redundant, I know, I keep doing that. In the Pilates tsunami of passion, is MMP and CT, me, see, a threat, or is it the cavalry? Now, I would hate to think of you thinking me of it as a threat, but in the fact that I'm a living human being, and I can say what I mean while I'm living, at least so far. It's much easier to put words in the mouth of someone who is no longer with us. And I think you're going to see that throughout history. All right, so number two. The end of number two is that really the threat of seeing MMP and CT, and whatever that is as a threat, you're right, it's a threat because it's a way of looking at Pilates, it's a point of view that is in some ways probably very different than the way you look at things. But when you see how much debris there is within the tsunami, you could get hurt in there or torn apart or lose a sense of what it is even about from the wave that it's making. Who knows what Pilates will become because of the enormity of the tsunami or the wave it's making through the human culture as of 2018. Now who knows what status it will be in 4040, but I have a bet that way before 440 core new tension will be acknowledged biomechanically and well studied, taken for granted. So, from my point of view, the ideal point of view that I profess to you is the cavalry, insofar as it gives you clarity, or it gives you something to stand on, solid ground. It gives you high ground or higher ground to escape all of the debris that's in the wave, because it allows you to filter the debris based on the point of view. You may find something that you love that has nothing to do with Pilates. So I see you watching me now. I know what I need, I know what I'm looking for, and how can I possibly not have it here at my disposal? So, researched the romper room back when television first began, and there was a kids show where the teacher had a magic mirror, and she would hold up the mirror and look through it and be able to say, and see, the thing is, at that age, with television being such a new thing, I mean, as a child, who's to say what's possible? And so there's that wonderful naivety. And yet, when I see the likes or the comments on the broadcast that I make, and there is a consistency of who I see, especially it not only helps me see each of you that wave on the way by, but help refine what I put out there, what I broadcast, based on my consideration of you in the audience. And the you is the you that goes unnamed because it didn't get mentioned. If you indulge me, so if I do it like this, right, and I do it like this, okay, hold on, okay. So I see Natty, struggling to understand me in a different language. And I see Nenun from Bandung and think how far that is away and how special my memories are of that place. And you and those people. And Ellie and Cecilia. Cecilia, you've been in this class for so long and seem to really have a connection to it, huh? And Gigi and Kipling and Laura and Sandra and Adriana and Scott and Chris and Ellie and Danielle and Deanna. Marissa and Rosanna and Asunta and Lucy and Alicia. I see you all. And Christine and Joel and Richard and Simonetta and Anna and Jessica and Astrid. And Anna, you make a serious impact in my simulation because it seems you never catch me live, but always end up catching at least enough of me to wave on the way by. And I appreciate that. Because I'd like to think that there is someone in CH that has an active sense of appreciation. And beyond that, wherever you live, for any of you, if we're talking about surviving as a Pilates instructor and thriving, and all those names and more are part of the audience that's out there, thank you for listening. And just like someone new that wrote, that's interested in reading my book that's on Amazon, available in Kindle, which is the best way, probably the only way to get it, is to look at the broadcasts that I make nowadays with what I published in 2000, 18 years ago, and compare what you hear. So I see you watching me. Makes me nervous. Number 4, MMP is a reality-based point of view of Pilates. Now, I hear the chorus going off saying la la, whatever. All I'm saying is that the MMP, Michael Miller Pilates, is a reality-based point of view of Pilates. Okay. And number 5, then, I say Pilates is one word. Just one word. Pilates is one word, and there are 10,000 views of the word. The word is the mother of the 10,000 things, the 10,000 views. And that being said, number 6 is, what is your point of view of Pilates? What is your point of view of Pilates? okay, as an instructor and telling people that you're going to instruct. When you get asked a question like that and you're full of passion, you take a big inhale because you have so much to say, and usually your eyes go up and to the left, driven by the right side of the brain to hear all it comes, all your passion, and just it matters so much to you that before you utter a word, the listener has their defenses up because they already know they're going to hear more than they want. So this is very practical information. So to be an effective communicator and to be an effective instructor, or more likely in the case of being a teacher where you're in a conversation, you get a lot farther by being willing to say less instead of more. So forever ago when I showed up at some function where there were multiple things you could do, when asked what my thing was, someone came up with the disdain word of exercise. And yet, that was what I had to do. So what is Pilates? Saying it's exercise. Allow people to filter what they want of you about Pilates to be driven by them. And if you're lucky, everyone will come away having fun and getting what they wanted. So you've got your view of Pilates, and I've got another question for you. What is your point of view of gravity? What is your point of view of gravity? That's my number 7 in this list. And all right, and so the comparison I'm making here is that your point of view of gravity matters a lot less that in terms of survival than your recognition of what it is. Your point of view of gravity, you can have as much opinion as you want to or interpret it any way you want to, and everyone does still to this day. But within the filter of survival and Pilates and being an instructor, your point of view of gravity matters much less than your recognition of it. And so I would lead you into me saying that your recognition of Pilates for what it is matters a lot less than your point of view of what it is. And that's a very restrictive view of what people make of Pilates. But within MMP, it's much less important what your point of view of it is, as it is your recognition of what it is. Number 8. Number 8. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. So, again, within the MMP point of view, Pilates is a reaction to reality. Just the struggle to survive or the expansion of life in its effort to survive. And at the human level, where a Pilates instructor gets involved, Pilates is a man's name. A method is attributed to his name. Within his book is a sequence of exercises that are meant to be done in sequence, and that establishes a grammar of its own, or of its own. The reason Pilates is a reaction to reality is because when you look at the pattern of the movement, when you look at the movements, the loading, the progression, when you look at the exercises, when you think about doing them uniformly, when you consider that it's constructed as conditioning in awareness that time that you're in a time continuum and that the future comes towards you, and to the extent that you condition yourself in preparation for what's coming, you stand a better chance to survive. See? That's all Joe is a survivor, and his method is survival training. And the reason his method is survival training is because it so purely acknowledges the reality in which we exist and the necessity of the conditioning as he designed. All very poetic in its purity of recognition of the reality that we live in. Number 9. 5 and 4 makes 9. So MMP pulls the sword out of the stone. And you can roll your eyes and think I'm deluded, and perhaps I am, and I'm enjoying it if I am, and I encourage you to glimpse mine, which point of view, of course, because in understanding the point of view, or being aware of it, or having it part of what all the other things you can be aware of as a human being, in constructing your simulation, your view of Pilates, in your mind, your thinking, if you have an understanding of if you have an understanding of why it is, what it is, intellectually, right? Your thinking has it put together. There's an understanding that comes from your thinking. This understanding the ideal within the original work is pulling the sword out of the stone, and symbolically a sword is meant to the mind, and because thinking divides things in two. And so in discerning, what is what do I teach next, which exercise comes first, the sword acts as a way of dividing things or making a distinction. And in this case, based on your mind's comprehension of what makes sense intellectually and sensationally. So, yeah, I guess that does tie that. So number 10. Number 10. My statement is this. If you get what I'm talking about, the universe will keep you company. If you get what I'm talking about, the universe will keep you company. So if you understand what I think about spirit being observing, and observing being non-local and superluminal, then you'll know what I mean when I say that if you get what I'm talking about, the universe will keep you company. And that's in light of this tsunami of Pilates passion and all of the pressure on what it is and what there is to learn and what matters and who you are. Just so much that it's tough to know what direction to swim in, let alone what direction to spend any money in. Right? So when we look through the mirror, and I look through and I see you, that's recognition. And somehow it seems the hardest part is living up to the recognition of ourselves. Right? But luckily, Pilates is a conditioning method for human beings that prepares them for whatever's coming by helping them coordinate their being, thinking, and observing. MMP, there's a lot of there's a lot more to it. Come on, Michael. Much of what's out there in 2018 is a dictionary that has a lot of words in it, a lot of exercises. Very few of them of which were ever done or documented in Joe's lifetime. That book I mentioned, the year 2000, is meant to be a stroke and white, the elements of style approach to Pilates by pointing out the grammar. And so, like it or not, the first grammar book on Pilates was published in the year 2000 by yours truly. And make your profession where you can. Oh. Okay. See, there's where I think there's a popular misconception about Pilates, because there is no conception of Pilates that doesn't allow for it to become anything other than a cosmetic for your own interest. That's where MMP says Pilates has something going on all by itself. And there will always be the spectrum of points of view. There will always be the fricassee. For me, you watching, I hope that what I've said to you is that what's important to do is to recognize reality. And in that regard, in terms of Pilates, recognize Joe's book. And then his definition, his promise, and the sequence of exercises. That's what the ideal is based on, right? So at least know those three things cold, and you at least will know Joe directly from his own words and from your sensational pursuit of those words. And when your thinking goes toward more understanding, instead of Well, not instead of anything. In MMP, you can go to and where you can embrace the reality of core new tension or not, and you can pursue uniform eccentric loading flowing through progressive patterns of movement. And MMP is a reaction to reality. It professes that. Look at Joe's work. Just look at what he says. Look at what he writes. And you can get to something that gives you a direct relationship to the human being and their gift to you and everyone else. So I found this in a toy store, and it just had, it had like aluminum foil. So I took the aluminum foil off, right? And I've used this several times. This time I think to thank you for your recognition and to recognize you as part of the focal nexus of the observing. This thing comes from, there's like a registration number for a trademark, and then a phone number, and then a registered mark with over the word creatology. Isn't that just the most fabulous thing? Right there. Creatology is what that says on the bottom line. I'm sure whoever this is would have gotten along with Joe, don't you think? Alright, so I don't know how I'm going to condense that into Facebook. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your recognition. If not now, to come, because what I'm pointing light on, I hope your observing additionally illuminates for the sake of us all. In that as much as we may not want to have a point of view about Pilates that matches the point of view about gravity, MMP points out that Pilates, to me, seems as self-evident in itself as much as gravity does in itself. And that's just me pointing. I'm not making it up. I'm just pointing to it. It's his choreography. It's his definition. And it's the experience I get it becomes the basis of my confidence. Because Michael Miller Pilates makes sense. The saying mark. Life can't live forever. Read between the lines. See behind the curtain. Add two and two. Direct your thinking. Geist.